Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Stokastic.com deeper dive. Got a 5-game slate for you tonight, and all the lineups are already out. So it's kind of cool because we got like a limited number of options, and we can build lineups straight from the get-go here. And we got the perfect guy to help us break down this slate. Adam, should my money share? Adam, how you doing, man?
Doing pretty well. Sweating the early slate, so hoping that goes my way. But yeah, this seems like an interesting slate for tournaments. You know, you and I were kind of talking about it before the show. Like, there's just not a lot of spots that really stand out. Good pitchers facing good offenses, and good offenses facing good enough pitchers. So a lot of similar team totals, and I think slates like this are pretty fun for tournaments because I think that you're still gonna be able to play ownership, but the spots are just a lot closer as opposed to those slates where it's like, oh, you know, this spot's clearly the best and it's getting a lot of ownership. You know, like, what are you gonna do? I think it becomes a little more fun when like everything projects similarly and you can just play lower owned spots.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see if we can find those spots that maybe are going under the radar on a slate where it seems like most of the teams are kind of in that same range as far as projections. So this will be an interesting one. Guys, before we get going, if you can hit that thumbs up button, we really appreciate that positive feedback. And if you haven't already been to Stokastic.com, we got some free tools of the day to help you with your lineups, the MLB ownership projections, and the PGA Top Golfers. Top Golfers, man, I'm like, how is this a free tool? This is like this is what people are shelling out the big bucks for, but that's free today for the Rocket Mortgage. But wait, there's more. If you want to try out all the tools for MLB DFS, okay, I'm gonna skip this part. It's the night slate. There is no night slate tonight, unfortunately. So, but all of our night slate tools for DraftKings are free on any other night. And guys, if you're not already on MGM, there's a deal. Bet $10 on any MLB game tonight. You win 200 free. Just click the link in the description and get that 200 bucks. I like 200 bucks for free. That's pretty cool. All right, first game we got Miami at Cincinnati. We got Braxton Garrett versus Luis Castillo, and over under 8.5 for this one. Looks like Castillo is picking up a lot of ownership. Meanwhile, Braxton Garrett is very low owned. So what are you seeing here?
Yeah, I think that both pitchers are kind of interesting in their own ways. Castillo, obviously one of the best pitchers on the slate. He's got a pretty solid matchup against Miami as well. This is a watered down lineup. They're dealing with some injuries. Not a great park to pitch in, but doesn't look particularly warm there. Castillo only 8,900 on DraftKings. He's 10-6 on FanDuel, but on FanDuel, you know, just not getting as much ownership as the pitchers around him in salary. On DraftKings, third highest owned pitcher, but still behind Scherzer and Gossman in that department. So it looks pretty good for him. And then as far as Garrett goes, he's not a bad pitcher. He has a 24% strikeout percentage as a starter this year, xFIP in the mid threes. And it's not a bad matchup against the Reds either. It is a sizable park downgrade going from Miami to Cincinnati. But I think Castillo is a guy that you can really build around. And then Garrett is more so somebody where in lineups where you have more popular hitters, maybe you work Garrett in a little bit.
Yeah, Garrett actually does look surprisingly good. In the matchup versus the Reds, they aren't like anything to write home about. So just about league average in most stats. So I'm kind of curious about Braxton Garrett. He does look viable, even though no one's on him. But one of the weird things about tonight's slate is you got three pitchers that look really strong in projection. So you got Braxton Garrett, you got Luis Castillo. Let me pull my notes here. You got Scherzer and Gaussman. But after that, it kind of falls off a cliff to like our third highest is Castillo at 18.3 points. Then you gotta go down to Ivaldi at 14.3. So that's a 4-point gap. That's huge. So like what do you do on a slate like this where there's three options that really stand above the rest?
Yeah, it becomes really interesting, and it goes back to what we talk about a lot, where it's more so about what your individual lineups look like than looking at any one player and saying, oh, I want to be over the field or under the field there. Typically on a slate like this, I'm still going to get to plenty of those popular pitchers because, like you said, Scherzer, Gaussman, and Castillo all project better by a pretty wide margin than the rest of the field. But you do have that next tier down where if I'm getting to popular hitters, for example, we have a lot of ownership going to the Reds, we have a lot going to the Red Sox. If you're getting to some of those bats, that's where I think guys like Braxton Garrett, Nathan Ivaldi, Drew Rasmussen start to fit in, where they're certainly not on the same level as those pitchers in terms of talent. They have difficult matchups, especially from a strikeout standpoint in the case of Ivaldi, but you can still use them to sort of offset that ownership. So like from for lack of a better phrase, portfolio standpoint, I still expect those three popular pitchers to be my three highest owned pitchers as well. But within individual lineups, I think that's where, losing out a little bit on projection starts to make a little bit more of a difference.
Definitely. So I think like it's going to be tough tonight because you're giving up a lot if you go down to the next tier. Braxton Garrett is someone I'm considering. Like I'm looking around at some other projections for him. Like I'm looking at ours and it's like a little bit higher. And when that happens, I'm looking at the data to see what's going on here. So like 4.8 team total against Garrett. That's like a little bit above average, I'd say. And then the strikeouts, 24% K rate this year. The Reds strike out a little bit more than average. And as far as pitch count, 86. We have him at, he went 102 2 starts ago. So there's a lot of upside there. So I'm like, man, maybe this guy like has sneaky high potential and like the ownership's so low. I'm kind of talking myself into Garrett on a slate where it's like hard to like there's so few options to differentiate. What are you thinking?
Yeah, and one thing working against him here is the Reds are running out 8 right-handed hitters. So far this year, he's only struck out 21.8% of righties compared to 29.6% of lefties. Not surprisingly, also allowing more power to righties with a 163 expected ISO compared to sub 100 to lefties. So I don't have any real confidence in Garrett. He's been a solid enough pitcher this year, but this is a tough park to pitch in. He is facing a right-handed heavy lineup. So I'm not looking at him and saying like, oh, I think the field's making a mistake by not really rostering him. But I do think he's good enough and cheap enough where if you are going to a popular stack, going to popular hitters, he at least has some path to success.
Nice. So that's all I needed to hear. There's a chance. You're telling me there's a chance. So, all right, let's look at the bats here. Top stack percentage, we got Miami at 10%, Cincinnati at 12%. So, like on a 10-game slate, the average team should have about a 10% chance of being the top stack. So these teams are both right around the average. It looks like Miami might be a team that's a little bit under the radar tonight. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think they should be under the radar though because they are bad, and Castillo is not. I do think that there's a little bit of value to be had here. JJ Balada is hitting third at 2,100. He was an early first-round pick a couple years ago out of I think Vandy. Cheap, has talent. Joey Wendell leading off is inexpensive, but I do think it's pretty tough to really like this Miami team. It is a positive park shift for them, but Castillo's good, and then you also just run into the issue of like where exactly do you want to go if you're going to Miami? It's Really, if you're like making the argument to stack Miami, it's basically just it's a 5-game slate. They're relatively low owned. They're facing a popular pitcher, so that has a little bit of added benefit. But it's not like you can point to like one, 2 or 3 hitters here and be like, oh well, these guys actually look good. It's more so just saying like, well, hopefully Castillo just doesn't have it today.
That's true, but I mean, the line on this game isn't that like there's not that big a discrepancy between the two teams. It looks like Cincinnati is a 140 favorite, so I'm thinking like maybe the general public is overrating the skill gap between like this matchup here. And this is the implied team total for Marlins is 4.2, which they're on the road, so that does give a bump to their top sack percentage, that chance of having a nice night and getting that 9th inning in addition. So I'm seeing like positive leverage on the stack, and then the starting pitcher ownership of Castillo is high. So that's really the logic. Like the one thing is like I'm sure like everyone who picks Miami, since they're not having Castillo in their lineup, they're gonna have Gausman Scherzer a combo for sure. So it's like maybe there just aren't that many ways to build this lineup that are good.
Yeah, I think that's true as well. And I mentioned Balada being talented. I hadn't actually pulled up his numbers to see what he was doing at AAA this year. 20 home runs, 371 WOBA, 242 ISO, 125 WRC plus. So it's not a case of this was an early draft pick and he's just made his way to the Marlins because they're hurt and because they suck. He actually has been hitting well. So I think that's worth mentioning when he's batting third at 2,100.
Yeah, it's not often you see a guy in their first. Is this his first MLB start?
He has played 4 games. I don't know if he started them.
Okay, got it. So 14 plate appearances. I mean, batting third in the order, that shows they have a lot of confidence in him, or they just don't have much confidence in the other guys.
Combination of both, I think.
Yeah. So he looks like a interesting play. Okay, let's go to the red stack. They're definitely one of the more popular teams tonight. 4.8 team total is second highest on the slate. What are you seeing here?
I think it looks like a good spot. I mentioned that Garrett has been markedly better against lefties than righties, which I think you would expect. And it is a sizable park downgrade for Garrett. Reasonable pricing as well. Jonathan India only 4K leading off at second base. I would think he's on the short list of cash game options, and obviously he's going to look good in tournaments as well. Brandon Drury's been fantastic this year after basically I think he was on a minor league contract, but he's been great. Tommy Pham is pretty cheap. So it's a combination of a lot of good value bats and a team that is in one of the better spots on the slate. Not to take anything away from Garrett, but there are some good pitchers going tonight, and there are only 10 teams going. So I think it's still fair to say, Cincinnati with about a 4.6 implied run total here is in one of the better spots. So I understand why they're getting the ownership, and I think really it's pretty close to where it should be.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, our tools like suggest that maybe it's a little bit too high. They are the most popular team on the slate. When I guess the sack score is second highest, so that shows like from a points plus value standpoint, they're second highest to Miami. I guess the weather in this game is relevant since kind of it's looking like a game where you could stack either team or play either pitcher, which is unusual. But temperature 78, humidity 89%. That skews slightly to bats, I'd say, but not anything too crazy. Are there any one-offs you're liking from this game?
So I mentioned Balada from the Miami side. Jonathan India, I think, looks really good individually from the Cincinnati side.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Next game we got. Oh, shit. All right. I'm juggling so many tabs here. Tampa at Baltimore, 8 over under. Okay, so we got Rasmussen versus Wells. I know we've talked on some shows about how Rasmussen maybe a little bit underrated. He's got xFIP at 3.6. The strikeout rate so far this year is 21%. What's your general take on him?
Yeah, I mean, he's somebody that I think is a better real life pitcher than fantasy pitcher. Doesn't strike out a ton of guys, like you said, but he is stretched out now. And he's somebody that earlier in the year, you were seeing more limited starts. Now he's still not typically going deep into games in terms of innings pitched, but he did throw 94 pitches last time out. He's thrown at least 80 pitches in 5 of his last 6 starts. So Still clearly not the most efficient, and that shows up in the fact that he's typically going like 4 to 5 innings. And I think Tampa Bay also doesn't have a particularly long leash. Like if he gets 5 innings and he's thrown 80 pitches, I don't think they're necessarily going to say, oh, well, go get up to 95, go pitch the 6th. I think you'll see them kind of pull him anyway, but he is pretty inexpensive. I think he's just another guy where he's certainly not a priority for me, but he's not getting much ownership. He is a reasonably good pitcher, 3.67 xFIP, 20.5% strikeout percentage as a starter this year. If you need him in a lineup where, like you have the Reds or another really popular team and you need to offset some ownership, he's fine, but still not somebody I'd be building around. He's kind of in that Braxton Garrett category for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, he's facing the Orioles, who have been like kind of sneaky good. I saw an article on 538 today talking about how like they're legit. I'm like, whoa, I must have missed this. I know they rattled off a string of like a crazy win streak, right?
They're 12 games over 500 since Adley Rutschman came up in May.
Damn. So, and from a statistical standpoint, it looks like projecting them to have better power than your average team. Get on base just about average. So a little bit above average for the team. Now, what about their pitcher, Tyler Wells? He is really cheap at 5,800. Getting a little bit of ownership at 11%. What do you think?
So I think the ownership makes some sense, just given that he is so much less expensive than other pitchers. Tampa Bay also does have a watered down lineup here. They're just dealing with a lot of injuries right now. They haven't had Wander Franco in a while. Kiermaier is out for the year. Zunino's out for the year. So, they did get Brandon Lau back, but it's just a pretty weak lineup, especially towards the bottom. And we know that Camden Yards does play a little bit more favorably for pitchers now that they decided to move the left field wall back like 30 feet. So that helps as well. That doesn't really affect left-handed power as much, though, since they didn't do anything with the right field wall. Wells has been one of the weaker pitchers on the slate so far this season. He has good stuff. It just hasn't really translated as a starter so far. He said the other day that part of the reason he's not getting strikeouts is because he knows he's on somewhat of a pitch limit and he's trying to be more efficient. I don't know how true that is. If it's true, it's stupid, but whatever. But he's only striking out 17% of hitters, 4.66 xFIP. I don't think he's like a total gas can or a really bad pitcher. And obviously there are some holes in the Tampa Bay lineup, but given what we have pitching wise on this slate, I think it's very fair to say he's one of the weaker pitchers. So I'm interested in the Tampa bats, but then also it goes both ways. He's 5,800. If you do need to pay down for pitching, he does have a decent enough matchup against the Rays.
Yeah, definitely. The Rays, they do have pretty good hitters, but they strike out more than average. So that could be a good chance for him to get some Ks, even though he hasn't been getting them this year. It looks like last year his strikeout number was 29%. So
yeah, he was out of the bullpen last year.
That makes sense. Okay. So as far as stacks in this game, Baltimore tonight is 85 degrees, 75% humidity. So that definitely gives a little bit of extra pop for these guys. Tampa, man, there was like that series where the Kansas City was like 100 degrees every game. And I like stacked them every day and like they didn't do shit, they didn't do anything. My bad. What's your general feeling about the Rays tonight?
Yeah, I was stacking them then too, and it really didn't go well. I think it's a pretty good spot. Like it's one of the better spots in terms of matchup on the slate. But Wells has done a good job limiting power to lefties this year. 127 expected ISO. Has a changeup. He's thrown 33% of the time with pretty good success. Most of the power he's allowed has actually come to right-handed bats. But then you run into the issue again of Camden Yards left field being really far away now. And then also when you're looking for right-handed power in the Tampa Bay lineup, it's basically Randy Arozarena and I guess Paredes, if you want to mention him, but Yandy Diaz is okay leading off. So it's just a difficult team to really be comfortable with and really like, but it is one of the better matchups. Baltimore also has a good bullpen behind Wells, so that's something else that can kind of limit the potential for the Rays. I think right now the ownership is basically where it should be on Tampa.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay, we got 11% ownership, so just around average. One of the guys that has stood out is Brandon Lowe. Man, he's got some power. Like he's only at 200 ISO this year. Last year's at 277. The other guy is Paredes, who He's at 280 ISO this year. That's like higher than most guys' batting average, which is insane. Yeah, he wasn't that good in past years. So what do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, he's been hitting really well. I had joked recently, it seems like every time for a while, it seemed like every time he started, he would hit multiple home runs. I do think he's one of the right-handed power bats that you would want to look at tonight if you are going up against Wells. So far this year, against right-handed pitching, sub 100 expected ISO for Yandy Diaz, but only a 145 expected ISO for Rosarena. 153 for Paredes. So, none of those guys so far this year have been doing a lot of damage. Bethancourt's actually at 244 and leading the way there. But I think that they're reasonable guys to go to. And then on the other side, Brandon Lau is clearly the best hitter on this team. And Wells has, like I said, he's been just better against lefties, both in terms of strikeout percentage and limiting production. Only a 257 expected WOBA to lefties with that 127 expected ISO. But Brandon Lau is just really good.
Nice. On the other side with the Orioles, okay, their team total is 4.4. A little bit of a tougher matchup versus Rasmussen. So how are you handling the Orioles tonight?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty tough matchup, but I do like the power upside and the pricing combination on Baltimore. 1 through 6, again, they just have legitimately good hitters. And then the bottom of the order still does give you some upside. Like Rougned Odor and Urias, neither one are great hitters. Urias is pretty close to league average. Odor is not. But they do still have some power. And then Jorge Mateo, not a good hitter, but if the guy gets on base, he's stealing. And it's like a free 5 points as long as he gets to first base. So there is some upside at the bottom. And then, again, 1 through 6 just looks good. I like that Adley Rutschman is up to hitting 2 in the order now. That just makes him a little bit more value from a DFS standpoint. He's hitting left-handed here, which has been beneficial for him so far in his career. He's the most expensive guy on the Orioles at 4,300. Mullins at 4,100 looks like a good value. Mancini's 0 for like his last 30, but still has a track record of being a good hitter. He's sub 3K. Mountcastle's sub 3K. Santander and Hayes are right around 4K. So I do like the combination of value and upside that the Orioles give you, and they're just getting a little bit less ownership than a lot of teams ahead of them.
Nice. All right, I'm doing a sweat here. You're still in first in the 150K relay throw. All right. Do you think is Zach Allen coming out for some more at bats? Like he's at 93 pitches. That's gonna be big.
Yeah, I'll say I didn't know what he was at. I know he had a good fifth, but I kind of assume he's going to be done.
I feel like
I don't even know what I want to happen.
I feel like a lot of pitchers these days are going like 100 plus.
Yeah.
So let's look at his pitch counts.
Texas just took the lead for John
97.
Gray too, which is not good for me.
Oh, he's gone as high as 115 in one start. So I think there's a chance. Like one of my favorite spots in baseball is waiting to see what pitcher comes out after like the inning is over.
But then it's like I really don't even know what I want. Like, do I really want him to come back out here and face the order for the third time and be at 100 pitches? Like,
I feel
probably not going to go well.
That's true, but like having additional volatility does help because there's still a lot of guys chasing you. So like I think you're gonna need some more points.
Yeah,
one way or another.
Yeah, I don't know how many pitches Gray is at either. I'm hoping he's done, but Gallen's out.
He's out. Dang it.
Yeah, Caleb Smith is now pitching.
Okay. All right. Let's hope that we can get some more points. Let's see. You got another inning of the twin stack, Pollock, and Betts. Okay. Hopefully we can get the first takedown on Deeper Dive history.
Yeah, that would be pretty nice. Definitely don't want Christian Yelich doing anything in this at bat.
All right, so we're sweating Adam's lineup here, but our job at Stokastic it's to help you guys win at your tournaments. So the combination that we preach is you gotta kind of use these shows to know like all the subjective parts of the game, and then use data on the site. And it's that combination that's going to make you the big bucks. So got a lot of premium tools on the site. Promo code MLBDD for MLB Deeper Dive. That gives you 50% off your first week of any package. So you could do the MLB Premium Weekly. And you'll be throwing me and Adam a bone because if we don't get enough signups, we might not be on the show next week. So if you can support me and Adam, use that promo code MLBDD. Greatly appreciate it. 50% off your first week here. All right. We got next game, St. Louis at Toronto. Toronto's been cruising. They're the highest team total of the night. That's no surprise. seems like almost every night they're putting up a monster fantasy performance. Like, what have you made of that?
Yeah, they've been on fire lately. And I mean, it makes sense. Like they're a really good offense. They definitely seemed to struggle a lot earlier in the year when we were stacking them, but yeah, really good offense and just obviously just hitting across the board right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, like we know in baseball that there is a cap on how good you can be, and it's not that high. Like, so they have a 5-team total tonight. So that means half the time they're going to be under 5 runs. Over the last 4 games, let's see, they got 50 runs, so they've been averaging 12 a game.
Yeah, 28 came in one game. So.
Well, that's why I picked 5 as
Yeah.
the cutoff here. That was ridiculous. So like I'm kind of wondering if like maybe some of these subjective factors will make their ownership like even higher than maybe our algorithm predicts tonight. Do you think people will ride the hot streak in baseball with sacks? Like actually, like now that I'm thinking about it, maybe that isn't like that big a factor.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think it's to the same extent that it used to be. Like the more people, the higher percentage of people that are using some sort of optimizer or even just projections, the less of a factor that's going to be. You know, back in the day, that was definitely a thing, but now I don't think it's as big of an issue. Still, I'm sure it happens to some extent, but not nearly as much as I think it used to.
Yeah. So just some analysis I've done in the MLB strategy guide on the site. If you haven't seen it, go check that out after the slate. But there's a lot of useful strategy there. But about I think like about it was like crazy. 95% of people were entering like 1 to 10 lineups. So I assume a lot of those people are like maybe not using data. Um, but like when it came to the number of lineups, it's about I think it was like about like 135% that are like the smaller entry. And then I guess why am I making this stuff up? I have the strategy guide here. Just look at that. But okay, so we got um half of the lineups were or 37% of lineups were 1 to 10 entries. I know a lot of like good players enter 1 to 10 entries too. So then you're looking at maybe 30% of the lineups that are done by more like casual players that aren't as in tune with data. So like I guess that's where you can see like how like these trends wouldn't factor in that heavily into ownership, where only like a small chunk of the pie is like actually like maybe considering that. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, and then also I guess one thing that doesn't make a huge difference, but it's probably worth noting too that if like the lineups that are really that are like playing Toronto because they have been hitting well, a lot of some percentage of those lineups are just going to be like really poorly constructed lineups anyway. Where like yes, they have a Blue Jay stack, but they have a generally weak lineup around it too. So probably just not even though like it maybe drives up the total ownership percentage a little bit, probably not the strongest lineups.
Definitely. All right, let's talk about the pitchers here. Wainwright's been having a surprisingly good season, but matchup tonight versus the Blue Jays, that's the tough one. The only saving grace, it's only 72 in Toronto. I assume that the roof will be open since the weather is pretty good tonight. On the other side, Gaussman, he's facing Cardinals who, based on their lineup tonight, not the set isn't really the strongest lineup they've put out, just about league average in every statistic. So it looks like a pretty good matchup for Gaussman tonight. And St. Louis has a 3.5 team total, so that's showing Vegas is definitely on Gaussman's corner or in Gaussman's corner. How are you handling him tonight?
Yeah, I think he looks good here. He's only 9,300, 27.8% strikeout percentage is second highest on the slate behind Scherzer. But the big thing is that the Cardinals don't have their two best hitters, Goldschmidt and Arenado. Neither one are with the team right now. So you're getting Albert Pujols hitting cleanup. And, yeah, he's not the easiest guy to strike out, but he's certainly not Paul Goldschmidt. You get just a generally weaker lineup without those two, obviously. So the Edman, Carlson, O'Neill part of the lineup, those guys are still solid hitters. Pujols is not a good hitter, but doesn't strike out a ton. But overall, the lineup just not very strong. Nolan Gorman's hitting 8th for whatever reason. I don't know how that happens. Like you lose Goldschmidt and Arenado and then move Gorman down in the order, but not a bad thing for Gaussman there either. He's just a really good pitcher, reasonable price tag, solid matchup against a watered down Cardinals lineup.
Definitely. There's nothing really that we can say that makes him look like a bad play. The ownership is the highest on the slate. It looks like at 55. Let me just double check that. The ownership is free today, so make sure to head to the site and take a look for yourself. If even if you're not a member. All right, so the highest owned Scherzer is a little bit higher than Gaussman in the latest update, but Wainwright, I saw someone in chat was saying he might be sneaky tonight. I'm not seeing it. Like, I think that there's a difference between sneaky and like just a bad play. So like going up against the toughest offense, they don't strike out a ton. Like I just don't understand like any argument for going to him. What do you think?
Yeah, especially for me on DraftKings. I did actually mention him in my tournament plays video for FanDuel, but even that was just, he's a really low probability play. He was just projected for like 1% ownership. But the thing on FanDuel is that there's a pretty big price gap because you have all of Scherzer, Castillo, and Gaussman all up like north of 10K, and then Wainwright was 7,500. Whereas on DraftKings, Gaussman's only 9,300, Castillo's only 8,900. So you're not even getting like a substantially different build by going to Wainwright on DraftKings. You're kind of just giving up a ton of points. So it makes it, I think, really tough to get there. He's not a bad pitcher. 3.94 xFIP is solid, but only striking out 19% of hitters. And then on top of that, like you were saying, not only is Toronto a really good offense overall, but they're also a difficult team to strike out. So outside of like, especially on DraftKings where the pricing is a bit different, outside of just saying, oh, he's low owned, I'm going to just throw him in there and pray that good things happen, I don't really have any case to make for Wainwright.
Agreed. Now, as far as stacks, St. Louis, the only real reason you'd go to them is because Gaussman is high owned. What do you think their chances are tonight?
Yeah, it's pretty tough to want to get there, I think. They are reasonably priced as well. Edman being the most expensive guy in the lineup at 4,200, O'Neill being the only other guy at 4K. But the thing is, like, pricing isn't that sharp on pitching on DraftKings, and they're facing one of the expensive pitchers. So, like, if you go to the Cardinals, you're opening up a lot of salary, but you're not playing Gaussman, so I guess you're opening it up to play Castillo and Scherzer, which is okay. But I don't think I'm going to end up getting to much of St. Louis here.
Agreed. Now on the Toronto side, pretty much all the batters are getting ownership except maybe the guy that's been on the hottest tear this recent memory is Raimel Tapia. It seems like every game he's hitting like he hit that inside the park home run in that 28-point game, and then like it seems like he's hitting like doubles with like multiple RBIs like on a regular basis. So it's like the numbers show he's like probably not, he's like the weakest batter on the team, but it seems like the results recently have been pretty solid. What do you think?
Yeah, it's been one of those, like, every time he's popular, something random happens. Like he hits a fly ball to center field for a grand slam, or, just runs into a couple of extra base hits. But yeah, he's actually not that good of a player. 139 expected ISO, 315 expected WOBA against right-handed pitching this year.
Yeah, that was crazy. His last two games, he's had 4 RBIs and 6 RBIs. So that's pretty crazy. Danny Jansen also batting 8th. Like he was a guy, he hit multiple homers in that 28-point game. He's actually kind of popular tonight at 13%. Like, is that another guy that's just been like on too much of a tear, or do you think he's still in play?
I mean, I think he's in play. I think for a catcher, he's a pretty solid hitter. If you go back to the start of last season, 296 plate appearances against right-handed pitching, but a 248 expected ISO, 355 expected WOBA. I'm a little surprised at his ownership here, though, that it's as close to Alejandro Kirk as it is. Right now we have Kirk at 20%. We have Jansen at 13. I thought that would be a spot where you could actually play Jansen and be a little bit more contrarian, because I thought people would play Kirk a lot more. I know that's what happened in that game where they scored 28 runs. I had a good amount of Jansen, and he was just like 1% owned in the middle, or not in the middle, but at the bottom of a chalky Toronto team, and it ended up being really, really good. So a little surprised at the amount of ownership he's getting right now, but I do think that he's still a solid option, even though he's not as good as Kirk.
Yeah, I kind of understand it. I mean, Jansen so far this year, he has a 360 ISO. It's over a limited sample size, so people are gonna see that he's been crushing. like when he's played and want to play him. Where Kirk, I think that like the leverage might be on the Kirk side, like today, where like much better play because he's batting higher in the order. It doesn't have quite as much power this year, but yeah, I think that maybe people are gonna be chasing after that Jansen pretty strong game recently.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that if you're getting relatively similar ownership between those two, Kirk is the better play.
Cool. Guys, our sports betting tool, it's Odd Shopper. That'll help you find all the best bets real quick. So there's the three tools that we really have that I think you guys should be aware of. First, we have the Stokastic projections like integrated with the props. So you can see like based on our site models, our DFS models that like all of us are winning all this money on. Like these are the props that are really jumping out at you. We also have the Sharp Sportsbook lines, and that takes a lot of the sports books, and it shows you which books are really like too far off from the industry average, so that you can make a profit on those bets. And then we got the Parlay Builder that combines the props with together, so you can make some killer parlays and really get some good odds. So make sure to check out Odd Shopper. All right. We got Cleveland at Boston. Seems like Boston has been a killer hitter's park recently. The temperature today in Boston is only 77, so like for Fenway standards, just about average. You got Ivaldi versus Quantrill. Since it is a little bit of a pitcher or batter's park, maybe the pitchers aren't as exciting. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, it's really tough to want to get the Quantrill here. He's one of the weaker pitchers on the slate. The matchup against Boston isn't great. I mean, it's a watered down lineup without Devers, but you do have JD Martinez back, and Quantrill just doesn't strike out a lot of guys. Only a 15% strikeout percentage, 4.65 xFIP so far this season. Ivaldi, I think, is interesting, especially in tournaments, and I think both sides are interesting here. Ivaldi's only projected for about 16% ownership. He's getting some ownership, but still getting less than half the ownership of the main three, Scherzer, Gausman, and Castillo. He's got a 25% strikeout percentage and a 3.18 xFIP this year. Both of those numbers are really good. The issue is that Cleveland's a really difficult team to strike out, so his expectation and projection comes down a bit. But the upside, I think, is still there. He's somebody that I like getting to, if you are trying to save a little bit of ownership at pitcher without going completely off the board to like a Braxton Garrett or something like that. I think that there is some upside in Ivaldi.
Definitely. I think Ivaldi is probably one of those guys that you could take a shot on tonight. There aren't too many of them at pitcher. So yeah, Cleveland, not the best matchup. They don't strike out that much, but he's a solid pitcher with 25% K rate so far this year. I agree, Quantrill is not a great option. What about the sacks in this one? Cleveland's got a team total of 4.4, while Boston's at 4.7.
Yeah, I like both stacks here. Boston is the one that I think projects a bit better, and that's reflected in the ownership, getting about 16% on DraftKings, but a 13% top stack percentage is second highest on the slate. 17% top value percentage is also second highest on the slate. And I mentioned it with Quantrill. There's just a lot of solid pitchers on this slate. And while he's not a total gas can, he's just not as good as most other pitchers. And you do still have some power in the Red Sox lineup. He's only striking out 12.5% of righties, 18.5% of lefties. So there is upside there. On the other side for Cleveland, it's obviously a more difficult matchup. Ivaldi is just a better pitcher, hands down across the board, than Cal Quantrill, but he's a homer-prone pitcher that typically also gets a lot of strikeouts, facing a team that has some power, not a ton, outside of Jose Ramirez, but that also puts the ball in play. If he doesn't do a very good job of controlling what happens on batted balls, you could just certainly see the Guardians, run into some power here. So I think individually, Jose Ramirez looks great, as he always does. But from a stacking perspective, Cleveland pulling about 11% aggregate ownership, a good amount of that going to Jose Ramirez individually at 20%. Only three other guys in the lineup at 10% or higher. I do think that there is some upside just given Ivaldi's potential for giving up home runs.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, Jose Ramirez has been on fire this year, so never a bad option. Like one of the things I'm sure people are tempted to do, like when one player is really, really popular, is just like make a stack without that player. What's your take on that strategy?
So like a Cleveland stack without Ramirez.
Yeah.
I don't hate that strategy, but I think it's more difficult to do with a team like Cleveland because I can't really find 5 guys on Cleveland that I really want. Um, I'm more interested in doing it when you have like teams that just have deeper lineups. So yeah, I mean, it's still baseball. Like obviously you can, like you're gonna put yourself in a really good position if Cleveland has a big game and Jose Ramirez happens to go 0 for 4 and you don't have Ramirez. Like that's a really powerful way to be different. But it is also, I think, just a little bit more difficult for me to do with a team like Cleveland. Because for one, Ramirez is getting, like, he's only getting 20% ownership. That's healthy, but it's not like you're talking about some 30 to 40% owned guy. And then two, it's just, sort of, I don't know where else to go if I'm not using Jose Ramirez as one of my 5 Cleveland bats.
Definitely. Yeah. Unfortunately, like most of the Cleveland bats, like in the lab this year, like we're projecting them to have pretty good power. Like some of them, like Reyes and Naylor. I guess Naylor and Ramirez have been the only guys. Is Nolan Jones in a small sample that have hit for power. But you got a lot of dead spots in this lineup as far as power. So it's hard to imagine like without like some of those power bats going off that they'll get there. On the Boston side, what are your thoughts on the Boston stack?
I think that they're a really good value. I think they have one of the better matchups against Quantrill. The ownership is there as well, but I think it's pretty well deserved. There are some spots you can get to in this lineup to save ownership as well, which I always like to see. You have Duran, Bogarts, Verdugo, Dahlbeck, and JD all projected for double-digit ownership, but Sanchez, Cordero, and Bradley are all sub 10%. So even though those guys aren't great plays individually, it is nice that you can sort of mix them in, throw 1 or 2 of them into your stack and just have a somewhat contrarian stack.
Dude, did you see that? Okay, John Gray just gave up a homer,
Oh,
so
nice.
all those lines dropped. You're still in first, but we're sweating Logan Webb coming out in the bottom of the 7th.
Yeah, or getting a win.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, if San Francisco like scores here, yeah, that's a good point. So we'll keep you guys posted on if Adam takes down the 50K. Sorry, I don't mean to like put the stress on you here. Like, all right, let's go to the last game here. We got New York at Mets. But first, I want to mention the best ball packages plus fantasy football. It's all one package this year, and I'm getting into best ball because I want to win $2 million. I don't know about you guys, but they're throwing out those big prizes. So I've been dabbling in the streets and trying to up my best ball game. We got a whole fantasy football channel as well as a best ball channel. So on YouTube, go to Stokastic Fantasy Football or Stokastic Best Ball. Make sure you subscribe to those if you want to get in on that fantasy football action. And we're doing a lot of drafts and stuff on those, so make sure to check them out. All right, Yankees at Mets. Scherzer is the guy that everyone's kind of on today. It's not because of the matchup versus the Yankees. Like that's a really tough matchup. So and in New York, 78 degrees today, so the weather isn't great. It looks like the Yankees lineup. It looks really strong again today. So this is kind of perplexing to me because I mean, it Scherzer, he's an amazing pitcher, but usually even like when you have an amazing pitcher in a really tough matchup, they're not as good a play as Scherzer is tonight. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean it's scary, and this is a spot where like it sticks out to me as a spot where I would have played it totally differently years ago than I think I am now. Like when I was hand building lineups and just kind of like making lineups based on what I was thinking more so than, crunching lineups and not really doing any thinking at all. In theory, like I think it's a good spot for the Yankees. You have one of the best offenses in baseball, not a good spot, but a good tournament spot to get to because like you have one of the best offenses in baseball facing a 60% owned pitcher. It's not like it's going to surprise anybody if the Yankees have a good game, even though Scherzer's really good. But that being said, as I've been building lineups during this show, I'm just not getting to much New York. Scherzer is really good. One thing that does stand out here is while they are really good hitters, it is a predominantly right-handed lineup for the Yankees. Scherzer this year has held righties to a 102 expected ISO with a 36% strikeout percentage. As usual, he's given up more power to lefties with a lower strikeout percentage. So guys like Anthony Rizzo, Matt Carpenter look pretty good, but there's only 3 lefties in the lineup. And most of the good hitters here are going to be right-handed, so that sets up in Scherzer's favor as well. So if you're somebody that is that typically stacks against popular pitchers, obviously play the Yankees here. They're really, really good. But for me, I kind of doubt that I get to too much New York.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, I think that from a points and projection standpoint, the Yankees look like about as bad as it gets with a team total of 3.4, and then they're all like 5K. So I can't recommend stacking the Yankees. I think it's probably a bad idea. If you want to kind of bet against, if you want to bet in the Yankees, like a better way to do it might be to just not play Scherzer. What do you think?
Yeah, that's typically how I view it. I know there are some people that I think use negative correlation more than I do in MLB. It's not really a big part of my strategy. It's more so, if Scherzer, if I don't get to Scherzer and he has a bad game, that doesn't necessarily, especially when you're talking about more expensive pitchers, that doesn't necessarily mean that the Yankees went off. Like, Scherzer's expensive. If he gives up 3 or 4 runs, he's not going to have a great game, but that isn't likely to win you a tournament with the Yankees either. So typically for me, it's more so, maybe I don't get to as much Scherzer, but I don't need to get to the Yankees either.
Agreed. What are your general thoughts on Scherzer tonight?
I think he looks really good. Obviously, the matchup is scary. The Yankees lineup is certainly better than the Cardinals lineup, but that Gausman's facing. But at the same time, 33.8% strikeout percentage is 5 points higher than Gausman. I mentioned that it's a predominantly right-handed heavy lineup for the Yankees as well. 2.89 xFIP is really good. So I think I probably get to a lot of Scherzer.
Now on the other side, Domingo Germán is getting the start for the Yankees. He only went 58 pitches in the last start, so I'm not thinking he's stretched out enough to play. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think that he's stretched out enough here, and also probably not good enough that I would want to take him against the Mets anyway.
Well, fair enough. What about the Mets stack? That's our last option here.
I think that one's kind of interesting, just because you don't really know what you're getting from Domingo Germán. Through 58 pitches last time out, he's been just kind of all over the place as a pitcher recently. He's dealt with a bunch of injuries, dealt with, I believe, a suspension, if I remember correctly. Going back to the start of the 2020 season, 215 expected ISO to righties, 154 to lefties. I think he's just a really big wild card here. And we know that the Mets are a good offense. They're not getting much ownership. I would rather, like, I'm going to one of these teams. Obviously, I think the Yankees are the stronger offense, but I'm a little bit more interested in the Mets just because I think Domingo Germán's a huge wild card. And then the Yankees bullpen has also been a bit questionable and also a bit banged up recently.
Yeah, I mean, the Mets, compared to the Yankees, they look amazing. What about compared to the rest of the slate? They have a 8% top stack percentage, 6% ownership. So you're getting a little bit of positive leverage, but they're also like pretty expensive for the run total. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like them in general in tournaments. We haven't really had a team yet that I think is going under-owned by any substantial amount, or that I've kind of thought the field was maybe a little bit wrong on. I think the Mets are going a bit under-owned here against Germán.
Nice. All right, guys. So we got an early lock time tonight at 6:40 Eastern. So the live before lock is jumping on a little bit earlier than normal. So we get that full show before the slate starts. Hopefully we gave you guys some good ideas on how to build lineups tonight. And as a reminder, use that promo code MLBDD. That's 50% off your first week of the Stokastic Plus weekly memberships. And check out Odd Shopper. That's our sports betting tool that you can use to find some awesome bets. And guys, stay tuned for Eric and Greg on Live Before Lock, and good luck.
Come into a Wednesday, midweek here on the Odd Shopper channel. 2, 3 actually, no or yes run first inning plays. They may actually, it was really going to be 2 yes, 1 no, but 1 and 2 last night. Let's just get to the recap out of the way. Yes, I could normally talk, but was trying to just angle this a different way. It is our NRFI video, even though we have 2 yes run first inning plays tonight. That's probably the easiest way to say it. Hey, I'm Eitan. You know the drill. Hit the thumbs up button, please, and make sure you're subscribed here. We want you to be a part of this community. That's the big thing here. There's so much happening that you don't want to miss it. There's a notification bell so that you'll get an alert each video when it drops. But across the board, for so much content, just across so many different sports, You don't want to miss anything. So be a part of this community. Subscribe. And it wouldn't be a betting video here on BetMGM VOD type style without any type of free money, which we're going to give you as you just see that link and that promo code. Don't worry, I'll tell you about that coming up. Now, let's get to it. We'll start Subway Series. We got burned on this one last night. Again, 1-2 on the night last night. We're coming right back to this game, but we're going to flip it and take advantage of the even money shot here at yes, there will be a run in the first inning with the Yankees-Mets game. Again, yes, the NRFI did not cash Aaron Judge. I mean, we had back-to-back in order to secure that, and then the Mets came in and put up 4. So 6 combined runs in the first inning last night. Definitely an indication that more to come. So let's look at the pitching matchup. Domingo Germán is going to be an easy target for the Mets bat. Season debut did not go well. His numbers against the Mets are not great at all. 4.6 ERA and 4 career starts against the Mets. Now, on the other side, you've got Max Scherzer. And this is where you're starting to get that even money on a yes and that heavy favorite of no. Why? Because there's the 38-year-old Scherzer on the hill dealing against a Yankees team that, despite getting 2 in the first, really has been struggling. You look at the win-loss as well. The Yankees have not snapped really out of that funk where the Mets, you can argue, are starting to. So that's why when you look at these two, yes at even money, no minus 130, we're going to go attack Germán first with the opportunity of how dangerous these Yankees bats can be. And look, if you want to just break down the numbers beyond Scherzer, who has a 4-4 record against the Yankees with an ERA just under 4, mind you. So it's not lights out 2.2 or anything you're seeing. The Mets put up 4 last night. That increased their average in the first inning at home, at least, to 0.85 runs per first inning at home. 0.85. That leads the majors. That's right there at the top. Now, the Yankees are third best on the road with an average of 0.63. We saw that come to fruition last night. There is little reason to expect that Max Scherzer and Germán here are going to lights out. We saw the scoring opportunities really for both. It's a great chance to jump in at even money. So you want free money? I gave you even money. How about free money? Click the link below. You can use our promo code OSNRFI, Odd Shopper, no run first inning. Same spot, same destination, same actual payout here. So once you get there, deposit at least $10. And when you do, play that 10 on any baseball game. Doesn't matter, win or lose. Play that 10 on any baseball game, and you're going to get $200 right back into your account. It's that simple. It's that easy. And all we ask, again, is that you just become a part of this community in return. Like, we're not even asking for you to give any more information. Just with your YouTube account, hit the subscribe button. You've already logged into YouTube. YouTube has
birthday.
Happy birthday to Eric Lindquist. Tell him, chat.
Nope. It's not a true thing. It's just not even remotely true. What is true is we are live. Welcome, everybody, to the MLB Live Before Lock show presented by Odd Shopper. I'm Eric Lindquist. Hopefully, you guys had a great early slate. I'm hoping so. I put a couple lineups together. I went and worked out. It was a good time. Got some endorphins going. So I'm sitting here. I'm ready to ride here. Greg Ehrenberg sitting sidecar with me. Going to give you guys all the great analysis like he always does. He looks lovely. He looks shiny. How you doing, my dude?
Yeah, busy day for you. I mean, your birthday, you're still working and you're working out on your birthday. So people who don't know this, today's Eric's 40th birthday. Message him on Twitter, DM him, say happy birthday, Eric. Happy 40th birthday. Listen,
It's not.
Celebrate.
September 19th. If you want to put it in your calendar, September 19th. Enjoy.
Yeah, that's when you turn 41. But today is your 40th birthday. Happy birthday, Eric.
Is this an Eric thing? Are you Ericist? Where you're against all the Emacs and the Erics and we're all aging in a certain direction? Because I think Emac, when I met him in person, I will say, much more handsome fellow in the real life, IRL, as the kids might say. He's reversing Benjamin Button style.
I think he's handsome everywhere. I think he's handsome on the internet. I think he is handsome in person. I think he's handsome in the pictures that he sends me privately. do what you want with that.
Hit that like button, subscribe button, and notification bell. I hope you guys enjoyed The Boss Man. I hope you enjoyed Adam Scherer. Yes, Eric and Greg go on. All hell breaks loose per usual. It's tip to tip season. It's let's go after another company season. It's I don't know. What season is it today, Greg?
Potentially baseball. It's never baseball season, but yeah, maybe baseball season. It's Max Scherzer season, perhaps. It's pick on Cardinal season because their lineup sucks. It's a lot of seasons.
What if we?
Oh, you know what actually today is?
What?
Corbin Burns season. What did he finish with? 11 strikeouts today?
No. Did he?
I
was watching the beginning of that Twins game and I was so happy. And then it made me sad. Yeah, he got to 11 strikeouts. Still a quality start. I mean, I said it last night. Minus 1.5 Brewers was free money. Minus 1.5 Brewers. Just enjoy it. I couldn't do it because I'm a Twins fan. And I just basically said I have enough respect for the Twins lineup. I personally was not going to throw it out there, but I was like, Milwaukee minus 1.5, enjoy the money. So brutal. It's not even fun.
Well, Corbin Burns Day, and I'm pretty sure he's the highest scoring pitcher on the early slate. Yep. Yeah. Just barely beating out a Jansen Junk who scored 28 fantasy points.
Sure did. Hey, I will say, shout out me. Angels money line lock. I feel good about that one. You know what I don't feel good about? I locked in the parlay of San Diego, Detroit, and the under. San Diego money line in that one. 3-2 going into the ninth, and Taylor Rogers, former Twin, ruins my life once again. This mother effer just can't get his shit together. ERA north of 4 now. He was like the best closer in baseball last year. One of. Edwin Diaz is still the best closer in baseball.
And Edwin Diaz sucked a couple of years ago. Josh Hader's having a down year this year, but I'd say probably overall he's probably been the best reliever in baseball the last 3 years.
Michael Kopech last year was up there. He was up there.
Oh, that's true. I forgot that he was
He was out of the pen. Again, these are the things that you guys come to Stokastic for, is real baseball talk as well as the best tools and content. We're going to dive right in. But first, I need to let you guys know something. BetMGM, I think August 1st, but you can waive bye-bye to the free $200. So if you've been thinking and watching these shows thinking, you know what, $10, all I have to do is deposit $10 to win $200. That's all I have to do. If you've been thinking that multiple times, you need to get on this offer right now. It's in the video description box below there. Use promo code Lindy while you're at it because, that's my promo code and it makes me look cool. So do that. Sign up at that link right now and get those free $200. Put it to work on some bets. Be a sicko like me. Bet the Yankees are like plus 165 or something because really you're shameless. But you know what? Let's talk some DFS, shall we? Malakar said I was beautiful. That's cool.
Yeah, he also wants to know who is a Josh hater, and that is nearly everybody that watches England.
I see what you did there. It was a Josh hater joke. Oh, honestly, Greg, but
hey, you know what? I was bringing this. So Eric, and because Eric's video is absolutely crushing it for us. Absolutely destroying over on the Odd Chopper channel.
You led with other reasons for why it's crushing, but go ahead, continue on.
No, I did not. The only point I'm going to say is this: yesterday is the most revenue we ever generated during the baseball season on the channel, and I think that there was a little bit of assistance from us as a whole, egging on that idiot from that other YouTube channel to drive traffic to our channel.
All right. So pitchers today, we're going to go to the top of the board.
You don't
hit
think
that
it
like
played
button,
any
subscribe button, and
at all?
notification. I bet it did, but you know what? I am Switzerland. I thought the analogy yesterday was perfect. In the Revolutionary War, I'm the guy playing the drums, the flute, the flag. Hopefully I can run fast in boots, in the mud, because I don't want any part of it. I just don't. I just want to give the people what they want. And also I want to be competitive in the things that matter, which is making money, as opposed to, I guess we did that anyway, right?
Yeah, so here's my point. Eric's video does very well, but I think it helped that I think we should go to war with more YouTube channels. I think we need more. I think we need more DFS beefs. I think we need more betting beefs. I know that the beef with Sal is dead now. Maybe I'll bring that. Who knows? I think that we should really be going to war here.
Yeah, you guys are best friends now, is what I heard. That's word on the street. You guys DM each other, guys wrap each other in Afghans, give each other warm hugs, enjoying hot cocoa by the fire.
Yeah, that's never going to happen. But
okay, cool.
Listen, he followed me on Twitter for 10 days and unfollowed me. There's
Did he really?
Yeah.
I didn't hear the second part of that. Why didn't you tell me that? That's amazing.
I thought I did tell you.
No, that's the T. That's the
Okay.
T I'm looking for. He unfollowed you after following you for 10 days.
I don't know the exact time frame, but at some point, yeah, he unfollowed me.
God, you are a dick.
Yeah. Well, not me. I didn't do anything. I thought we buried the hatchet, everything. I was following him. He unfollowed me, not the other way around.
All right. Well, I guess it's fair. Statute of limitations, 10 days. Tyler Zander behind the virtual glass doing a great job here. I promise we'll start the show now. Let's do it. Greg, what do you think about this slate? First of all, how did the early slate go for you? And then let's talk about these 5 games we got ahead of us.
Well, it's hard to know because the slate's still happening.
Well, you can talk about fucking things, Greg.
I know I could talk about things, but how do I know how the slate's going? What should I screenshot whatever? I don't even know what I could look right now.
Whatever. Let's just talk about this slate that we have ahead of us.
No. Well,
come on, dude.
All right, I'm doing.
Help me help you. Help me help you.
Doing poorly to this point, but we'll see.
Good.
We'll see how these games finish.
Good. I'm suffering as well. Good. I'm happy. Are you going to be happy to roster Max Scherzer on today's slate?
Yes, because it kind of is somewhat inevitable, right? He's going to be really popular. He's projected for just north of 60% ownership on DK. Over on FanDuel, he's projected for nearly 40% ownership. But there's only 3 pitchers to feel great about today, right? And
Tyler. You're such a dick. God, why do my coworkers just all suck? Why are you guys the worst people ever? Just normal people doing normal things.
Kitchen. Stay out of the kitchen if you can't handle the heat, Lindy.
Exactly. Let's see. What did he do? Now I got to pull this up on my computer.
God.
Oh, I said it's the longest I've ever.
We have 40 minutes to lock. I guess we have plenty of time.
Out while Eric hosts the show. This conversation.
He's just bashing my hosting unnecessarily for no reason.
Where did he bash you?
He said that this is the longest he had gone without zoning out while I was hosting, as in, like, he actually was enjoying the things I was saying, which never happened till this point, which I don't think is very appropriate and not very conducive of the producers I want behind the glass. And now, considering I'm pulling in all this revenue for Odd Shopper and Stokastic, well, I think you better be nicer to me, Tyler Zander. How do you think about that?
Who leaves their posts more during baseball shows, Tyler or Jordan?
Honestly, they both leave it a lot. They both are sometimes maybe lazy, sometimes maybe lazier.
But Tyler leaves to get food. Jordan, I think, shits 3 times per show. Because it's fairly normal.
Dude, bro, I gotta go shit. Yeah, it's fine. I gotta dude, bro, chill. Tyler does order more Postmates than anybody I know.
It's a tax
that
write-off.
includes like a recluse.
The other day, I think it was I was doing a show with you. Afterwards, Tyler gets food delivered. He got toast delivered to him.
What?
That's a lot.
Yeah, he got toast delivered to him.
I did not get toast delivered.
You absolutely got toast delivered to you. We had a big discussion about it.
I get milk and cookies delivered sometimes, like I'm 6 years old. But that's
ridiculous.
Another conversation.
Yeah, I'm sure you weren't sober, but yes, you had toast delivered to you about 3 weeks ago or so.
All right. Well, Max Scherzer is sitting at 63%. He's very, very popular. 10-6. That does a little bit less for you in terms of bats, obviously, but a lot of the most expensive bats, ironically, are on the Yankee side, and we're probably not playing a lot of them as is. Max Scherzer's been so good against righties, and I will say I am surprised that the Yankees didn't go and put out Gallo. Maybe the strikeout was like the last straw, and Joey Gallo will never wear a Yankees uniform ever again, and they can't watch it anymore. But to not have Gallo in the lineup there, you do get Hicks, Carpenter, Rizzo. That's just 3 bats from the left side, and he's been exponentially better. Not in terms of batting average, that is, but xFIP drastically better against righties than lefties. So he should find some success here. Would you agree?
Yeah, and it's also relative to what other options we have to work with here. There's Scherzer, there's Gausman against a really watered down Cardinals lineup. Then you get Luis Castillo against the Marlins. Castillo has been kind of iffy this year. And then I think everything else on the slate is a dart throw. Like, there's nothing else you could feel particularly good about. Tyler Wells is weirdly picking up double-digit ownership, I guess, because who the hell else are people going to go to save money with? But by default, I think if you're building a bunch of lineups, you kind of have to get to Scherzer. And then single entry lineups, typically when a pitcher is this popular, I will try to find ways to deviate. I couldn't even do that reasonably.
I don't think you could either. But now the fun begins, because on DraftKings, single entry, my friend, you're playing two of them. Kevin Gausman or Castillo, second man in.
It's pretty easily Gausman for me. Number one, Gausman's been better this year. That's, I think, pretty clear just from looking at the numbers. And point two, this Cardinals lineup is bad. It's not a good lineup from top to bottom. Jose Barrios had a decent amount of success against them yesterday. It wasn't like he scored a million fantasy points or anything, but Gausman should be able to find success against this Cardinals lineup. I'll read it off from top to bottom right now, but it's not good. There's no Arenado. There's no Goldschmidt. Both of them are out because of the travel rules. Neither of them are vaccinated. They can't go and play in Canada. So we've got a lineup of Edman, Carlson, Tyler O'Neill, and then you've got Albert Pujols batting fourth for who knows what reason that would be. Then Brendan Donovan's fifth, Dickerson sixth, Nootbaar seventh, Gorman eighth. Gorman just continues to fall down the lineup. He's been terrible for the last month and a half now. And then Kanizer ninth. So I think this is the same lineup as yesterday, just the players are in a different order, and it's not good. It's a bad lineup if Albert Pujols is batting fourth in the year 2022.
I agree, but I look at this Miami lineup and I don't feel all sorts of awe-inspired feelings either.
No, I agree with that. But at the same time, also, Gausman, I think, is quite a bit better than Luis Castillo. And I still do think that this Cardinals lineup is worse than what the Marlins lineup is.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn. Like, I think we could get to lock, and we have the best projections, the best site, period, end of story, not close. I'm looking at Gausman, I'm looking at Castillo, and it's one of those things where if everybody else is looking at the same tools, if it's only going to be like a 12% difference between Gausman and Castillo, I think I want to go Gausman as well. I think that would make some sense. Plus, you talk about it's being 70 degrees in Toronto, roof open, a better pitching environment than it normally might be. And then you go to Luis Castillo, he's pitching in the worst ballpark you could pretty much be in outside of Coors. So he's been successful at it. So there's no deal there. But I keep looking at this Miami Marlins lineup as well, and I think there's more strikeouts. There's 5 guys north of a 23% K percentage, including Lewin Diaz and his 42.9% strikeout percentage. And then I go over and look at everything that we have with the St. Louis lineup. As you said, with Gorman, he's one of the main strikeout artists, but now with him batting 8th, 32.5% K percentage, you pretty much only have 3 guys that are striking out north of 20%. That's Lars Nootbaar, Tyler O'Neill, and Nolan Gorman. Now, if Gausman is not tipping pitches anymore with that massive, ridiculous triple magnum glove that he's got on, awesome, sounds great. But I'm trying to talk myself as I'm building lineups here the next 33 minutes to get to more Castillo than Gausman and kind of live with the result of it. And I don't know if I need to get crazy off the board. I have one pitcher that I like that's below these 3, but I'm trying to make the case to get to a little bit more Castillo in the interest of getting different.
Well, I mean, different is, I don't know.
Relative.
I mean, Castillo's projected for 44% ownership. Let's hold the phone here with saying you're getting different by playing Luis Castillo.
I mean, less than 2 pitchers that are like, I mean, is this just a lock situation where you're just going to play all the Scherzer and all of the Gausman and then have a sprinkle of Luis Castillo? Because again, for me, it's just like, well, some of the offenses I like, I'm not going to call them the chalkier offenses, but I think that there's ways to stack up Toronto that isn't A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You know, I think there's ways to do Baltimore that isn't crazy. I think it's pretty easy to get to some of the back half of those guys' lineups and kind of sprinkle them in single entry if I want to do that. I think I'm just trying to make the case, even for like one lineup, if a 55% Kevin Gausman puts up 15 and Castillo goes for 25, you have a massive, I mean, that's a lot on this kind of a slate.
I have 56% Gausman right now and 40% Castillo.
Well, look at you.
It's a lot of both of them, but I'm not that much different than the field. And even with Scherzer, I'm overweight to Scherzer, but I mean, how overweight could you be to a pitcher who's over 60% owned? If you have 80% of Scherzer, which is a lot, you're kind of only marginally overweight to the field on him. I guess where my pitcher ownership gets different is there are some guys that are picking up no ownership that I have some ownership to, like Braxton Garrett, for instance.
That's my guy.
Right? He's in 10% of my lineups. It's a fairly small allocation. We only have him projected for 1% ownership. So I'm vastly overweight to him. That's really where my ownership gets different. I don't think there's a way you could play Scherzer, Gausman, and Castillo and be that different than the field unless you're just outright not playing one of those guys.
Agreed. I agree with that. Let's talk about Braxton Garrett. I like that we're on the same guy as kind of a contrarian pitcher. He's just good. Like he's really started to show out now. Back-to-back outings against the Pittsburgh Pirates will make anybody look pretty damn good. I think that that's safe to be said, but we're starting to see this strikeout rate climb, and now over 23%. And he's sitting there with back-to-back games, 7 and 11 strikeouts. And I know he pitches in perhaps the most friendly pitcher park you could possibly have in Miami. And now he's going to the least friendly pitcher park. But for the most part, I don't think he's going to be a guy who's giving up a crazy amount of power. 5 home runs only on the season. I feel pretty confident that if you get his good stuff, his A stuff, 7,900, this Cincinnati lineup is still not good. They're projected north of 4.6 runs because it's Great American Ballpark, but definitely not because of this lineup. Talk to me about Braxton Garrett.
I don't understand the ownership on either side. And clearly there's better pitching options than Garrett today, but he's projected for 1% ownership, and the Reds are projected to be the highest owned offense by a mile tonight. So I just put those two things together, and I want to be underweight to the field on the Reds, and I just want shares of Braxton Garrett in my player pool. Like I said, I have him 10% right now. I might up that though. Are you going much higher than 10%?
I have 12 right now, and I might get to a little bit more. Honestly, I have 5 pitchers. I'm curious if you can guess my final pitcher that I have any shares of out of my 60 or so lineups that I'm making, 68 lineups. Oh, I got to add one more, of course. That would
Ivaldi?
be. Yeah, I have like 2% of Ivaldi, but
so
I don't even, I might not even have him when it's all said and done.
So when you say 5, you just mean 5 players you have any shares of at all?
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about Tyler Wells, but I'd rather just play Braxton Garrett because I think the strikeout stuff is there. The reason you could play Tyler Wells is he limits power, and he's 5.8K, which just gives you access to more bats. But think about it this way. Like Braxton Garrett, I think there's a path for him to actually generate strikeouts. It's hard for me to imagine Scherzer, Gausman, Castillo. It's hard for me to imagine 2 of the 3 failing in a way where you still wouldn't probably be all right having them in your lineup. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think that follows.
Okay.
For me, also, I mean, just looking at our ownership projections where we have, you mentioned Tyler Wells. Tyler Wells projected for 12% ownership. That's really high for me for a pitcher that doesn't really have strikeout upside. So I don't have interest in him relative to his ownership, but in the interest of trying to find where do I be contrarian at pitcher, I can't reasonably say I'm not playing Scherzer, Gausman, or Castillo. I have to get exposure to those guys because they're just by far the best pitching options. Ivaldi's picking up some ownership. I think it's warranted about where he's at. And then I just kind of look at the 1% guys, and it's Braxton Garrett, Adam Wainwright, Drew Rasmussen, who I like him as a prospect, but he just hasn't put it together this year. Then you got Cal Quantrill. That's a no for me. Domingo Germán. Dear God, I think does Germán suck right now. He was not able to generate swing and misses in the minor leagues, got his ass kicked in his first start, getting called up to the big leagues. He's also still on a pitch restriction. So I actually don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but the Mets are my favorite stack today. So the only low-owned pitcher today that I actually could talk myself into being viable is Braxton Garrett, and we're getting leverage there because the Reds are so popular.
Okay. Well, we can go ahead of ourselves. We have 28 minutes left in the show. Any other pitcher that you even want to have a discussion about? Because Rasmussen's not it for me. Adam Wainwright, I think he'll pitch okay. I don't know. Toronto could just absolutely obliterate him too. It wouldn't surprise me. But Adam Wainwright on the road, yeah, it's whatever. I'm not going to get to any shares of anybody else.
I think we could talk a little bit more about Tyler Wells just because he's picking up ownership. So I'll explain why it is that I'm not playing Tyler Wells. And it's almost the exact same reason. I was confused that Spencer Watkins picked up ownership yesterday because I don't think Spencer Watkins is good. Tyler Wells is marginally better than him, but it's still just there isn't the strikeout upside here where, the numbers here, 3.69 ERA, 4.28 FIP. It's not bad, but it's a 17.3% K rate, and he doesn't work deep into games. So if you look at the game log for Tyler Wells, I know because I was doing this earlier when I was doing my betting video, because the over-under for strikeouts, at least this morning for Tyler Wells, was 4.5, and it was plus money on the under. He's had 5 or more strikeouts in 2 out of his 19 starts this year, and he was plus money to have less than that number today. But part of the issue is that, number one, he doesn't generate a lot of strikeouts, but he also just doesn't work deep into games. His recent starts, 5 innings, 5 2/3 innings, 4 innings, 6 innings, 5 innings, 5 innings. If you're realistically getting somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 innings from a guy with a 17% K rate, it's just hard to generate a lot of upside. So I'm confused why he's picking up as much ownership as he is.
I'm with you. I don't think you need, because again, the Yankees are the team that's so expensive to get to if you wanted to play Carpenter, Judge, and those guys. And I just don't really see a need to have to do that to yourself today. Watch that. They're going to just double dong or something weird's going to happen. And I'll eat those words. And I'm not surprised. Again, the Yankees, I think there's always value whenever they're facing any really good pitcher like this. And then they put Herman on the mound, because you end up with like plus 160, plus 165. Or from a DFS perspective, there's just no way that I could find a way to play Tyler Wells with Gausman or Castillo and play Yankees and have that be like a serviceable build. So I can't do it. I'm completely with you. Anything else from pitching?
No, just I think a really good point is being made in chat right now. And that was Sotak saying, today's Eric's birthday. Totally true. This is Eric's 40th birthday. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. That is the only thing Eric wants for his 40th birthday, is your guys' love and support. So like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel.
I'd rather have you guys sign up at Stokastic plus tools and content. For us 40-year-old geriatrics like myself, we need tools and content along with glasses so that we can read the page in front of us, because, it becomes a thing. MLB Live gets us 50% off, though, right now, any first week that you want. And again, why wouldn't you want to start now? We've got golf coming up here this weekend, Top Golfers Tool. That is free this weekend. That's incredible. But we still have PGA Pro plays. You're going to want to check that out. I got to upload mine before Alex yells at me. I got to do that like now. Sorry, boss man, but 50% off your first week of Stokastic Plus using promo code MLB Live. Take advantage of it. Use it. Then F1, we've got NASCAR. We've got esports. We've got some amazing guys that are coming on staff here. They're going to be covering a lot of the ins and outs of CSGO. We've got, of course, League of Legends, all these great esports offerings as well. And the NFL is coming right around the corner. If you want opportunities to be checking that out, I can't guarantee that we'll still have MLB Live, that it will be live in a month and a half. So I would just take advantage of this now while you're checking out baseball. So MLB Live, that's the promo code. Stop guessing, start winning. And join us, my friends, at Stokastic Plus today. All right, you said it before. You kind of killed the whole bit, the beginning that we have of every damn show. Is this your first show, Greg? Is this your first show?
Yes.
Who's your favorite single entry team of the day? I bet it's the Mets.
Let's see. Who is it going to be today? I could really throw you a curveball by just making it not the Mets, but it is the Mets. So Domingo Germán, I just don't have any confidence in him being a MLB caliber pitcher right now. And I get that when he pitched in the minor leagues, he didn't give up runs. I don't care about ERA. I don't think it's a good indicator of anything other than what's already happened. So what ERA is going to tell you is this is how many runs a pitcher allowed in their previous starts. It's not predictive of the future at all, because there's so much luck involved with that. Especially when you consider, we were talking about this, Adam and I, yesterday, we're doing the show. Did you see the double that was hit off of Max Fried the other day? The crazy, where basically somebody hit a chopper. It was a routine ground out to first base, Matt Olson. The ball hits a rock and just goes directly horizontal.
See that. Yep, I saw that. Yep.
That's the issue with stuff like earned runs. Like, you're just not going to, it's not going to take notice of luck stats. It's not going to take notice of bad plays in the outfield. It's not going to take advantage of great plays that players make. Whereas if we look at some other stats like, FIP, expected ERA, strikeout rate, it's just way more telling of how good individual pitchers are. So I look at Domingo Germán in the minor leagues, and it's not a bad thing, obviously, that he pitched 20 minor league innings and only gave up 1 run. But the fact that he pitched all of those innings and was only able to generate 11 strikeouts, that he was putting up, 4 strikeouts per 9 innings in his minor league starts, that's an issue. If he's not able to strike out minor league hitters, why would I ever expect him to be able to strike out major league hitters? And then you also have to just look at some of the trends with his strikeout stuff since he's come into the big leagues, where there was one time where he was one of the best prospects in baseball and he had really good strikeout stuff. Every year that he's been in the big leagues, his strikeout rate has gone down and he's had so many off-field issues. So I just don't think that this guy is somebody who I could consider a big league caliber pitcher until he actually starts to show results on the field. And I'm just not sure that's going to be the case. And the other thing that's really important here, it's a small slate. I think there's tremendous downside with Domingo Germán, and the Mets are not really getting stacked very often.
Everything you just said could apply to my favorite stack of the night, and that is Cleveland. Nathan Eovaldi, man. The reason that I have 2% of him, he's the only other pitcher showing up, period. I have like a Boston, just a stack with Ivaldi that I kind of hand built and threw in there. I do not have any confidence that there is anything there for Nathan Eovaldi. And the strikeouts have been, 7 strikeouts now through 7 innings that he's had in his last 2 starts. But he came back on the 15th of July after a month plus absence and then pitched again on the 22nd to that infamous 28-run spot. We're talking about 12 earned runs, 2 home runs, and it's not like this is some crazy outlier situation. The guy has been giving up the long ball routinely. You remember that? Well, the Houston game is kind of an outlier. You remember the Win game where pop flies were leaving the yard? We were watching that one together. No.
Oh, sorry. I was responding to somebody in YouTube chat.
It's fine. Just live your life. Nathan Eovaldi, I don't have a ton of confidence in
boomer
whatsoever. Rude. I'm trying to give people information.
It's your 40th birthday. We should
shut up. He's given up 18 home runs on the year. That sounds like Hunter Greenish. Shout out to my favorite pitcher that sucks, but I love him anyway. Definitely looking at targeting Nathan Eovaldi, and Jose Ramirez, kind of pretty good. He's going to be very, very popular. If you take him out, you could stack up this team any which way, and you don't have to think about ownership. But I think having Josh Naylor there, 7%, is what he's coming in with. Nolan Jones there, who's just been kind of good at 205 ISO so far, 2,300 paying for him. Austin Hedges, I don't think is very good whatsoever, but served me well okay yesterday, just as the cheap punt du jour for me out of the 8-hole. I think 1 through 8, this Cleveland team is just one that I want to be getting to. And I think outside of Reyes, Kwan, and Ramirez, you don't have to think about ownership whatsoever. Even so, Jose Ramirez is one of the best one-off plays of the slate, no matter what.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm looking through my exposure now to the Cleveland players, because you had said that it is a team that's picking up some ownership, but it's really concentrated. So You got Jose Ramirez picking up 20% ownership, Framil Reyes 14%, Stephen Kwan 14%. Everybody else is sub 10% owned. So I am actually underweight to Ramirez, Reyes, and Kwan, and overweight to every other hitter in this lineup. So I am stacking them, but I'm doing it in a different way than what the field is. And, overall, I actually like Ivaldi as a pitcher probably more than most people do right now. I get that he was really bad in his last start against the Blue Jays. He did lead all American League pitchers in wins above replacement last year, if I'm not mistaken. And his numbers this year aren't terrible, but he was certainly a better pitcher last year. There's some concerns with him working his way back from injury. So I do think he's targetable in this spot, but I'm doing it in a little bit different way than the field is.
Yeah, I get that. Are you just not playing Ramirez? Are you not playing Kwan? Or are you avoiding Reyes? What are you planning to do? Because I know you build out a number of single entry ones by hand.
Yeah. So, the way that I'm sure that I have some of these guys in my lineups. I was just kind of looking at the aggregate ownership of them, how it broke out when I was doing builds, and the Ramirez ownership, 20%. I'm close to it, but a little bit underweight. Framil Reyes, Stephen Kwan, both 14%. I have around 10% of them. And then we just have all these other hitters in the lineup where it's, Naylor, who you mentioned, is 7%. Ahmed Rosario, 9%. Nolan Jones, 5%. And then I have those guys that I'm a little bit over 10% of. So the players that are low owned in the Guardians lineup, I'm about double the field on. And then the guys that are more popular, I'm just a little bit underweight.
Oh, it's almost like you're sharp or something.
Well, we'll see how the results come out.
Yeah, no, it's a results-based industry, so don't screw up.
We'll see. It could be watch the Guardians score 6 runs, but it's 2 homers by Ramirez, 2 by Reyes, and 2 for Kwan. Then it'll look a little silly.
It's process-driven, of course, but obviously we don't screenshot out, hey, I lost 80% like I did yesterday. It was great. It was a lot of fun. Just got mauled for no reason.
For me, the dream is always to have the exact same amount of winnings as I do binds, like to the penny, though. I've never been able to accomplish it. I've come really close. I remember there was a basketball slate last year where it was like, I don't know, it was like $660 in entry fees to get back like $660.12. And I was I was trying to figure out towards the end of this, like what had to happen in final possessions of games to get it down. But that's the goal for me. Once
you got to
a
get
lot of people come into DFS and be like, I want to win a million maker. To me, it's like, I want to max enter a contest and get back the same exact amount of money that I put into it. And then I can retire happy from DFS.
We all have goals. That's just yours. Let's go to the top stacks tool here once more. Toronto and Cincinnati, they're very, very popular. So is Boston. Boston's really popular. Cal Quantrill's not good. Don't get me wrong. He's got his, just trash. He's not good at all. They're like surprisingly popular to me. I would say. I think they might be going the most over-owned. Out of those three, if you had to stack up one, who do you stack up? That it being Toronto, Cincinnati, and Boston. And which one do you think is the most over-owned between the three?
All right. So I'm going to just refresh this to see what's changed with the ownership, and not too much. So to me, I think pretty clearly the Reds are the most over-owned because of those three offenses we mentioned, the Blue Jays, the Reds, the Red Sox. I think it's pretty clear that the Reds are the worst offense, right? No disagreement.
None.
And then on the flip side also, I think Braxton Garrett's the best of any of those pitchers. I think Braxton Garrett's better than Adam Wainwright or Cal Quantrill. So we have the team that is the worst offense going up against the best pitcher of the three teams you just mentioned. And they are also the most popular. So to me, the Reds are you know what we could do for this? It's a little fuck, marry, kill with offenses, right?
Oh my God. That is kind of what I was doing. I didn't even think about it that way, but yeah, let's fucking kill some offenses. Here you go. So who do I want to F? Who would I really like to lay in a bed of grass overlooking the sunrise, hand on hand? I think I got to marry Toronto, don't I? I think I have to marry Toronto. They just look nice.
They're the safest. If you
they are the safest. I said you bring them home and you take Toronto home.
Yeah, you go like, hey, Adam Wainwright's 40. He's the exact same age as me. They're going up against it's this offense and it's a wash pitcher. Adam Wainwright, actually, I don't think this is a coincidence. He has really struggled since Yadier Molina got hurt. I tend to think there's a correlation there. He's obviously been together, the two of them as battery mates for years now. And I think not having that familiarity has done a little bit of negative for Wainwright. Wainwright's allowed multiple home runs in 4 of his last 6 starts. That's certainly concerning. Then also going on the road pitching against this Toronto team, velocity declining, not that surprising for somebody who's 40 years old. So I do feel like Toronto is the safest, but goddamn, do I want to fuck them too. So it's tough.
All right. Well, I would rather, yeah. So I'll sleep and fornicate with the Toronto Blue Jays. I think I'm going to be marrying. I'm going to marry Cincy. So I'll do it a little bit different, but I have to kill Boston. Boston is just really, really popular. And I'm looking around some other places and it just looks, that feeling that you just know that Boston's going to be like crazy, crazy popular. And it's
the Reds,
you feel it in your left knee. I know they're both going to be crazy popular. I'm just trying to decide if I had to pick one of those chalkier offenses in a couple lineups. I mean, I'm under on Boston as it stands right now. I'm almost with Cincinnati, but that has more to do with pricing and ballpark and environment, even though I like Braxton Garrett the most as well. Maybe I should be on to some more Boston here in the next 10 minutes.
So to be clear, I'm underweight to the field on both the Red Sox and the Reds, but I'm more significantly underweight to the Reds than I am to the Red Sox. I mean, the Red Sox have been all over the place lately. Most of it's been bad. And I definitely think that this team was, because we saw from reports, they were undecided if they were going to be buyers or sellers at next week's trade deadline. I think the team's made it pretty clear which side of that they should take if they're still making that decision. I think the Red Sox should either stay put or they should be sellers. I don't think this is a team that should be buyers at all. But I do think that if the Devers injury is, because he's on the injured list, so that ends up being severe and he's going to be out for an extended period of time, then I think Boston should probably consider, let's part ways here with Xander Bogaerts, who's probably going to test free agency in the offseason if they're not able to sign him to a contract extension. So I think that Boston could be headed that way. But at the same time, too, there's firepower in this offense. Cal Quantrill is terrible. and we're comparing them to the Reds. So I'd rather roster Boston than Cincinnati. Toronto's clearly the best of those three offenses, though.
Agreed. I think they're kind of the unavoidable one out of everybody. Oh man, this is going to be a wild slate, isn't it? This is going to be a slate where, I mean, I don't even know what to think. It's going to be wild. I just get that feeling.
What's the biggest stand you're taking on this slate?
I mean, that's a good question, because I mean, as I'm going through it, that's what I think I'm the most upset about with some of the builds that I'm looking at, and I have 12 minutes to kind of fix it here. But I look at the top stacks tool, and there's a part of me that sees the top stack odds for the Yankees dead last, and it's just like, okay, there's Rizzo, there's Carpenter, there's these guys, and if I get away from Scherzer, if I just play those two, I there's no way that I'm going to play 5 New York Yankees bats. Like, there's just not. But is there enough lefty ammunition there where they could maybe do something that nobody else does on this slate? Because if Toronto fails, pretty much everybody else is between 3 and 4.5 implied runs on this slate. And I mean, Cincinnati is so chalky. Boston's so chalky. I think it's going to be like, if I play those two guys, maybe I just get more onto the Tampa Bay and Baltimore side of things. Because 1 through 6, Baltimore is so good. Now they've got the most negative leverage outside of Cincinnati on this entire slate for DK, but I mean, I really have no issue going to Urias, like to the back half of these dudes. You've got who am I trying to think of? Ramon Urias. There we go. I'm not Terry McBride. I couldn't really say that correctly, but I think there's guys like that I can kind of sprinkle in. I think Baltimore might end up being the team to kind of play more of, because right now Cleveland is my largest stand, but I'm not exactly thrilled with it at the moment.
So for me, and by the way, I mean teams being overweight too, not underweight too, because in a sense, my biggest stand is just not playing a whole bunch of Cincinnati. Move them projected for 18% aggregate ownership. But I guess there's a couple of them. Number one for me, it is the Mets. I'm way overweight to the field on the Mets. It's a team I'm playing in single entry. I have a whole bunch of exposure to them. I guess one of my other ones is the Yankees, because like you just said, it's clearly a bad spot for them against Max Scherzer, but there's never a 5-game slate in any scenario where the Yankees warrant 1% ownership.
That's what I keep looking at.
So I'm way overweight. The Yankees are, I think of all the teams on the slate, the Yankees are, let's see, they're not my lowest owned stack, but they're pretty close to my lowest, but I'm way overweight to them because only 1% owned as a team. It's an easy number to be overweight to, right? The possible outcomes here, even something as dumb as, hey, Bryson Stott hits a weird chopper and it hits a rock and it bounces the opposite way. Like, shit like that happens in baseball. And that's why a team like the Yankees with as much firepower as they have, they don't warrant 1% ownership, especially not when the pitcher they're going up against is north of 60% ownership. So if you're playing 150 lineups, I think you're doing yourself a disservice if some of them are not Yankee stacks.
I'm with you. Oh, again, the stacking portion, I mean, yeah, you can always play judge. Like that's kind of what it is. I mean, if you're somebody who stacks up against every popular pitcher, you don't have to think about anything because you're already doing this, and yay. But let me just pull this up again, because it was just one of those fascinating things for me last night, just an exercise where, you know, I'm looking at slates for over 24 hours now at times where it just never stops. And, you know, sometimes I'm like, oh, did I imagine that? No, I did not imagine it with Max Scherzer. His splits are pretty pronounced when it comes to lefty. Where is it on the season? Splits. There we go. Lefties on the season, 342 slugging, actual slugging, 284 against righties, 268 WOBA. That's still really good, but a 236 against righties. But then you go down here to some of the advanced stuff, and he's striking out fewer lefties. He's got a 3.61 xFIP against lefties, a 2.27 xFIP against righties. I really just want to play Hicks, Carpenter, Rizzo, have exposure to some of those guys as a secondary stack. I have one share of Judge. Okay. That's crazy to think I have 60 something lineups in one share of Judge, but that's kind of what it is when you have 62% Scherzer like I do. I just want to make sure that I have a path to get to some of those guys, because I mean, Matt Carpenter's just been a god.
Yeah, I don't buy into it though.
I don't either, but he's been a god.
I think he's I get that if you're stacking against Scherzer, you would ideally want to play left-handed bats, but it's tough for that guy to be Matt Carpenter for me. I get he's a 235 WRC plus this year, but the most recent year, 70, 85, 96 WRC plus. He was out of the league when the Yankees signed him. This is not the first time this happened either. The Yankees got Luke Voit for nothing, and he just crushed for them. But I don't want to pay over $5K price tag for a Carpenter. I'm stacking with other Yankees.
Okay. Just wanted to check in and kind of see if we were thinking along the same lines. This is 5 games. We're going through it all. You know where we can also go through it in the next 7 minutes is oddshopper.com. Yes, we're going to get ourselves over to OddShopper to kind of close out the show. We now have everything in a very clean way in the top left corner of your screen, the tools, the expert analysis, calculators. So if you want the odds, the hold, the expected value calculators, there's an education tab that's up there too. If you want to learn about hedging, if you want to know what reverse line movement is, if you want to have teasers and round robins explain to you how that works, just listen to Sean Zahn in every single regard in that department. We have all the top promos and deals you can get at sportsbooks. Everything super clean in the top left corner. And of course, all you have to do to be able to check out all the great tools and content provided by Alex Baker, Steve Buzzard, Eddie Lai. We're talking some of the best fantasy players on planet Earth and have been for years. You get all of that just by signing up, you putting your email in and getting over to OddShopper today. And you can look directly on that. Look at that. Nolan Gorman up to a plus 700. He was plus 525 against Berrios yesterday. It was one of our best home run calls. He's plus 700 today in the 8 hole. That's just crazy to be looking at. Oh man, maybe I do want to sprinkle that. We'll see. But Greg, I always ask you, what is your favorite bet on the board here at OddShopper today?
So I have 2 bets for the late games, and I mean, they're still there, but they don't have the same odds that I bet them at. I mean, kind of close-ish though. The Tyler Wells one I bet at plus money. He still is the over-under 4.5 strikeouts, but now it's minus 110. Obviously, I liked it a lot better when it was plus money, but I still think minus 110 is doable when you consider that the number is 4.5. He said 5 or more strikeouts in just 2 out of 19 starts this year. So I feel pretty good about the under for strikeouts with Tyler Wells. The other one that I bet also, I have Vlad plus 400 to homer. He's currently plus 380. So a little bit of a dip in odds. Nothing crazy, though. I would still bet the 380.
All right. I love that. Nolan Gorman. Yeah, I'm not going to be going that direction. Max Scherzer. I said it before. I don't know what to think about this spot, but under 8.5, we've got a 65% expected win percentage. I play a lot of my volume over on Prize Picks. As many of you know, we have been running red hot in the Prize Picks streets. 4 straight days of 3 for 3. I'm back. I'm back, baby. It's been fun. But check out that video every day over on the OddShopper channel. I talked about it a little bit earlier. I think the hitter fantasy score for Anthony Rizzo over there is just way, way, way too low. It's actually off the board now. It was at 4.5 today. It was 4.5. Let's see. No, there it is again. It's at 4.5 over on Prize Picks. So you can still take advantage of that. We have them projected around 7 fantasy points. Uses DK scoring for your hitters over there. So take that, enjoy that, love that. Check out Prize Picks at the same time. Then you check out OddShopper because, hey, they have some utility together. You can go up to, I don't know which tab it's underneath here now, but the tools, there it is. The Prize Picks Parlay Builder over on OddShopper. Taking a look at that Gaussman under 6.5, 54% expected win percentage. Probably don't want to be going to any of those. Such close expected win percentages that exist there for those 5, but take advantage of all of those great tools and content here at OddShopper. Amazing work by all the guys here at Stokastic, no doubt about it. All right, my friend, we got to get to the nitty gritty. 3 minutes to go. Do you have all your lineups in?
Yeah, I've been good. I was just laughing at the porn bot that popped up because whenever you get a new message, it's just really exciting for me. And today's was tired of being alone. Will help you. And then immediately we had Pancho Villa post in chat. Yes, I'm tired of being alone. Touch my something. But either way, it's nice when we get the bots trying to mix up their content as well in the YouTube chat.
Is it?
Yeah, Eric, as we learned yesterday, nobody likes repeated and copied content. We like originality.
Oh my God. I have nothing else to say.
Alone will help you. No
Who's
link,
Will?
nowhere to go.
That was a Will joke. His name's Will. Eric, it's like the bits you know you personally. It is like the bits know me personally. Touch my camera through the fence. Don't do that. Bot is here to dance for Lindy's B-Day. It is not my birthday. Don't sing happy birthday. It is not my birthday. September 19th is my birthday. There you are. Enjoy. Put it in your calendar. You can send me a gift. I won't give you my
by the way,
address.
I mean this sincerely. I want everybody who's watching the show, if you're on Twitter, please DM Eric and wish him happy 40th birthday. It would just be no, it would make him feel so good. How excited would he be? It just birthday wishes. It's important to him. Do it, guys. And also like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. But please reach out to Eric and let him know a happy birthday.
I really don't know what to do with you. I really don't.
I'm just trying to make sure you have a good birthday.
Gee, thanks, Greg. Really appreciate you. Guys, this was a really fun show until the end. And then, yeah, I'm buying a Live Golf hat for me. Thanks, Poncho. You can burn it. I'll sacrifice it at the altar of the demons. Just absurd. I'm on Twitter and following Eric Sotex. Don't do it. Everybody don't do it. Hit the like button. That would be the nicest thing you can do. Hit that like button. Make us look cool. There's all of that. Greg, what's the thing that you want to have happen the absolute most? You get to pick one homer. Who do you want to have homer today?
Vladdy would be the best one for me. Number one from DFS standpoint, but then also from betting standpoint as well.
Nolan Jones for me. There's a random one. Nothing like Nolan Jones being your second highest owned hitter. What a time to be alive. 2,300. That's just a low number. There we go. That's how I am going to get different and win all of the money. You hope somebody takes down something. If it's not me, I hope it's you. Greg, any final words for the people as we get out of here?
No, it was, I assume you have birthday plans. So I don't want to belabor the point too much. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Eric, happy birthday, and enjoy the night with your wife.
You guys are all idiots. Thanks, Tyler. Thanks, Greg. I'm Eric. It's not my birthday. Over this shit.